So I want to give you a bit of a disclaimer before you're thinking about cold approaching, and that is this. You really need to be in the right headspace or open to the possibilities that when you're approaching people, you are going to get rejected. And there are plenty of guys out there who think that doing cold approach is going to solve all their problems. And don't get me wrong, it's a great starting point for your problems. But I don't want it to be a form of escapism where you're not actually dealing with the roots of your issues. So I'll give you an example here. So I had recently had a conversation with someone about the fact that they had suffered from depression and had even self-harmed, and that they then wanted to go out and do cold approaching, and because they believe that it's going to help them. And I had to very harshly say to them, I do not think you are ready to be cold approaching. When you are talking to strangers, especially if you're going from a non-existent social life to one where you are out in public, you are putting yourself on the line, and in a very stressful situation, you have to be sure that you can handle it. Because if you do have bouts of depression and have self-harmed, and you are not dealing with the roots of those issues, such as going to a therapist, going to a doctor, getting medication potentially to help you with feeling and being more stable in just normal everyday life, then cold approaching is not something that you should be doing yet. It is going to be an extension of working on a decent life that you have got already. And by decent, that doesn't mean that you've got to be confident. That doesn't mean you've already got to be sociable. But you have to be in a good headspace and willing to embrace the idea of rejection, or people saying no to you, or they're not interested in stuff. Because I don't know if I said this before, or maybe I did it in an earlier take, but when you are practicing approaching, it's a bit like having someone hold a mirror against you. And when you see yourself in that reflection, that does not mean you're going to see something that you're going to like. And I have seen plenty of guys who they can take it on the chin and they can acknowledge the bad parts of them and they are willing to work on them. But I have also met plenty of guys who they get caught up in the negativity of just how bad they are, or how they look, or how they feel. And they just get stuck on that particular thought, and it just spirals, and it's very, very difficult for them to get out of it. So if you're thinking about cold approaching, just as a first step, I want you to check in with yourself and just make sure that you are in the right headspace. Could you handle rejections? Are you at least comfortable being in social environments? Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be sociable, but are you at least comfortable being in them? Some guys, to go from just living in their bedroom to suddenly being out on the street can be a very, very traumatizing thing. And I've become more aware of this as I've recently had actually a handful of clients that are all autistic, and they each have like their own variations or versions of autism, but they have certainly some overlaying features, which would be that they just struggle with social cues. And by being in public for so long, or if there's loud noises, or if there's just a huge volume of people, that overstimulation does tend to get the better of them. And I've had to do it where then I've either had to take them on different roads that are a bit quieter. We've had to have more regular breaks, or I've just had to help them with breathing exercises and just go somewhere where, they're able to calm themselves down. Just from conversations with them, from experiences that I've had with them, and definitely with recent consultation calls that I've had, I would beg you to please just make sure that you are in a good place first, and then when you're ready, then to consider going out and doing cold approaching. If you can't handle being in social environments, if you really do have a lot of negativity going on, I plead, do go and see a doctor first. Do go to a therapist, get medication if needed, and so on. I have lost 4 friends in the dating industry who have taken their lives. And on top of that, I've also lost 5 family members as well. So I've lost 9 people in my life. The last thing that I want to have happen to anyone who is genuinely struggling or believes that cold approaching is the only way now that's going to fix all their problems, just first of all, just make sure that, yeah, you are okay to do it. Because the last thing that I want to hear is someone going out, trying to approach, they get rejected, and then they just genuinely believe that no one wants them. That's it. They need to sort of like unalive themselves and, you know, and end it. Like, I don't want any of that. So please, if you are thinking about cold approaching, just make sure, or check in with yourself, and again, just make sure, and I sound like a broken record and I apologize, but just make sure that you are okay to put yourselves out there. Do not put all this reliance and stress on the idea that this is the only way to change your life. Don't get me wrong, it really will accelerate your confidence, but the last thing that I want is it to also break certain guys. Seek the help that you need to first, and then do it. There is nothing wrong with doing it in that order. So that's my video today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for now. And I'm sorry that this was a slightly darker toned of a video, but I just felt that it was just important to just make sure that guys understand this before they jump headfirst into the world of code approaching.